Moses is saying, here's the description of the pattern that I got for the temple. And Paul is saying, your body is a temple. So here's my hypothesis. If we look at the pattern in the temple, should it match the human body that they had no understanding of at the time that Paul wrote this? Like, we didn't know about cells until Van Leeuwenhoek in the 1600s. We didn't know about the circulation of the heart until the 1600s with William Harvey. Okay. Yet, if you look in the human body, you have the blood system. You have blood circulating around in the vascular system, and then it goes into the interstitial fluid, and then the interstitial fluid then goes to the cell, which there's a plasma membrane on the cell that you can't penetrate through, but unless you actually have the proteins to go, and then it goes into the cell, which is a compartment with two compartments within it. Right? You got the cell and the nucleus. Right? This is exactly the same structure that Moses was given in the wilderness. So you have this altar of sacrifice, which is where the blood is. That's the blood in the human body. Next, you move to the laver, which is this container full of water. And that's the interstitial space, after you go from the blood into the interstitial space. Any pharmacologist will know that this is exactly the pattern that you move to. The next thing that comes is this structure that has a veil that you can't penetrate through unless you go through it. That's the cell, because this structure is the building, and it's got a room within a room. And that's exactly what the cell is. The cell is this nucleus surrounded by the cytoplasm. Well, in this room that you go into at first, there's pieces of furniture in there that are very similar to the types of organelles that you see in the cytoplasm of the cell. For instance, there's this 7-branch candlestick that's in there that's burning olive oil and producing energy. That's like beta oxidation producing energy. That's exactly what you see in the mitochondria. But the final thing is you move into the nucleus. And this temple has something called the most holy place, where there's this altar of where there's this Ark of the Covenant. You've seen Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
And the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's this Ark, and you open it up, and this is where the 2 tablets of stone, the 10 Commandments, rested. So in that area, you have 2 tablets of stone written by the hand of God, the code of life. And according to Jewish and Christian belief, that this is the law, and if you break the law, that's how sin is, and the consequences of sin is disease and death. Well, when we get to the nucleus of the human body, you have 2 strands of DNA. And on the strands of DNA is the code, the nucleotides, of which is the code of life. If you manipulate that code, that leads to mutations, which leads to disease and death. None of this was known until 1950 when they discovered DNA. And yet, we have Paul who's making this jump and saying, your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit.